guys.
On August 13, 2018, 34-year-old Shanann Watts, who was 15 weeks pregnant, was reported missing by her friend and colleague Nicole Atkinson. Shanann and her two daughters, 4-year-old Bella and 3-year-old Celeste, weren't at home, and Shanann wasn't answering messages from either Atkinson or her husband, Chris Watts. When Shanann missed a doctor's appointment, Atkinson was worried and called in a welfare check. When police searched the house, they found Shanann's phone between the sofa cushions, her bag in the kitchen, and her car on the property. The following day, she and the girls were declared missing, and an investigation was launched. 33-year-old Chris Watts initially denied any knowledge of their whereabouts, even giving an emotional interview on television begging for their return, but his story soon changed. Finally, he admitted to being behind their disappearance. He had committed a family massacre, murdering his wife, their two daughters, and their unborn son. So what really happened, and what would lead a supposedly happy family man to commit familicide? Chris and Shanann met in North Carolina in 2010 and married in 2012. They later moved to Colorado, where they had their daughters, Bella in 2013 and Celeste in 2015. Chris Watts and Shanann Watts appeared to have it all: a loving marriage, two beautiful daughters, and a seemingly idyllic life in Frederick, Colorado. From the outside, their relationship appeared strong, their family united. Chris worked as an operator for Anadarko Petroleum, while Shanann was a vivacious and outgoing woman who worked in direct sales for a health and wellness company. Their home life was documented on social media, presenting an image of happiness and contentment. She regularly posted videos online documenting their life together and all of their happy family moments. In June 2018, Shanann uploaded a video to Facebook of the moment she revealed to Chris they were having a third child, a boy they were going to name Nico. Chris can be seen on the video saying it's awesome, but he didn't seem very excited about the announcement. In reality, things weren't as peachy as they made it appear. In 2015, the couple had been almost $450,000 in debt, and that year they filed for bankruptcy. Though later their finances seemed to be improving, Shanann took a new job. By all accounts, their marriage was struggling. The same month that Shanann revealed she was pregnant with their third child, she took their two daughters to her parents in North Carolina for a holiday, where they stayed for 6 weeks. While Shanann continued to post loving tributes to her husband online during their time apart, Chris later said the couple was having difficulties in their relationship and using the time apart to see if separation could work. By the end of June, he had begun a new relationship, an affair with a co-worker, Nicole Kessinger. According to Kessinger, Chris told her he was in the process of separating from his wife. Chris was head over heels for Nikki. They went to sporting events together, dinners, and even on a mini holiday. He thought that the only way they could ride off into the sunset and live a happily ever after is if his family was no longer in the picture. By July, Shanann was beginning to question her husband's behavior, as texts between them would later show. Shanann claimed Chris was being distant. Chris reassured her everything was fine. Meanwhile, he was going on dates with Kessinger and leaving his wife's calls unanswered. Later that month, Chris traveled to North Carolina to be with them. But texts later showed conflict between the couple, as well as between Shanann and Chris's extended family. By August 8th, Shanann was telling friends that Chris wanted a divorce, while she didn't. Chris had told her he was scared to death about the new baby and that he didn't want it. She said he had changed towards her, that he was cold and physically distant. On August 9th, Shanann left for Arizona on a work trip. She sent a friend a draft of a letter she was writing to Chris about their relationship, including how much she had missed him while they were apart and how painful it had been for her. While she was gone, Chris hired a babysitter for their girls and took Kessinger out. In the early hours of August 13th, Shanann returned home from her trip and was dropped off by Atkinson, who watched her walk into the house. It was the last time she saw Shanann. Over that weekend, Chris Watts had been home with their daughters. Later that day, Shanann and the girls were reported missing by Atkinson, who became concerned when Shanann missed a scheduled obstetrics and gynecology appointment and failed to return her text messages. After Shanann missed a medical appointment, Atkinson went to the Watts residence at about 12:10 p.m. When the doorbell and knocks went unanswered, Atkinson notified Christopher, who was at work, and called the Frederick Police Department. She told Chris she was worried and was going to call the police. This obviously worried him. So he raced home to find the police already there, where the family dog was discovered unharmed. But no sign of Shanann or the girls was found. Searchers discovered Shanann's purse containing her keys and the children's medicine. Her phone was later located between the couch cushions in the family home. Her car, which still contained the girls' car seats, was in the garage. Shanann's wedding ring was found on the bedside table. At one point, Chris's neighbor, Nate Trinastic, came over to ask what was going on. The police officer advised Nate that Shanann and the kids appeared to be missing. Nate told the police officer he had a CCTV camera which was pointed in the direction of the Watts house, and they should review it to see if and when Shanann and the kids left the house. So Nate and the police officer, accompanied by Chris, went next door to review the footage, Chris pacing nervously in his living room while the three of them meticulously reviewed CCTV footage. Nate's camera, aimed at Chris's driveway, revealed Chris loading his car at 5 a.m., an unusual hour for him. Chris claimed it was for work convenience, but suspicions arose. As Nate and the officer watched, Chris grew increasingly uneasy. Nate, unconvinced by Chris's explanations, pointed out Chris's nervous demeanor in the footage. Chris's behavior raised red flags, leaving Nate and the officer suspicious of his actions. But the security footage was not clear enough to properly determine what Chris was actually doing, so he thought he was off the hook, at least for now. The FBI and the Colorado Bureau of Investigation joined the investigation the next day. Watts initially told police that he had no idea where his family might be and that he had not seen his wife since 5:15 a.m. the previous day when he left for work. He gave interviews to Denver news stations outside the house, pleading for the return of his wife and daughters.
Shanann, Bella, Celeste, if you're out there, just come back. Like, if somebody has her, just please bring her back. I need to see everybody. I need to see everybody again. This house is not complete without anybody here. Please bring her back.
But this was a ploy by investigators to see what Chris would say to reporters and to monitor his demeanor and reactions. Law enforcement officials launched a comprehensive investigation into the disappearance of Shanann, Bella, and Celeste Watts. The search efforts intensified as the hours turned into days, with friends, family, and volunteers joining in the search for any trace of the missing family. As media attention intensified, scrutiny fell heavily on Chris Watts, whose behavior appeared increasingly suspicious. Inconsistencies in his story, coupled with his calm demeanor in the face of his family's disappearance, raised red flags among investigators. While Chris initially played the grieving husband, it didn't take police long to begin to question his story. 2 days after Shanann had been reported missing, Kessinger, who had seen Chris on the news and realized he lied about the state of his marriage and Shanann's pregnancy, told police she'd been having an affair with Chris. He was then formally accused of Shanann's murder. After he failed a lie detector test, he confessed to killing her. The path to justice for Watts's family began with that lie detector test, just days after the murders took place. By this point, police were already highly suspicious about Watts's relaxed and breezy demeanor, the oddly detached way he referred to Bella and Celeste as those kids, and how he was using the past tense about them, even though it wasn't yet a murder investigation. Watts was under no legal obligation to take the test, and the investigator even warned him that it would be really stupid to do so if he was lying. Watts presumably felt there was no other way to allay the suspicions of detectives, and perhaps believed he could somehow fool the technology by remaining as calm as possible during the test. In this, he was sorely mistaken. Watts failed the lie detector by a considerable margin, prompting investigators to turn the screws and sternly ask him to come clean. Watts kept up the innocent act at first, practically begging the investigators to believe that he'd told the truth during the polygraph. Then, prompted by the presence of his father, Watts relented to a degree, providing his infamous initial confession that he'd killed Shanann in a rage after catching her murdering their daughters. Investigators didn't believe this outlandish tale, and later in August, he was hauled into court on charges of killing his entire family. It wasn't until November that Watts finally, fully admitted what he'd done as part of a plea deal that spared him the death penalty. He told the police that a few hours after Shanann had returned, they had got into a fight. He revealed he was having an affair and wanted a divorce. She threatened to take their kids away from him. At first, he accused Shanann of killing their daughters in retaliation. something he maintained up until his trial in November, before finally confessing to all of the murders. Chris said that once he had killed Shanann, he told his daughters that she was ill and had to be taken to the hospital. He then put all three of them into his truck and drove out to a remote work site where he was employed. He buried Shanann's body in a shallow grave before smothering his daughters and dumping their bodies in oil tanks. On the 16th of August, their bodies were recovered. On the 19th of November, having submitted a plea deal to escape the death penalty, Chris Watts was found guilty